So I spent over $500 million on Google Ads in the past few years. Google Ads for e-commerce brands specifically. Most Google Ad accounts, believe it or not, are not broken, or at least not in the way you think they are. For example, I want you to take a look at this brand that spent $66,000 in the last 30 days on Google. Cost per conversion, 193, conversion value, 121. Or this brand that spent over $1 million in the last 30 days, 1.23, 2.9 million back. You know, obviously it looks good on paper, the dashboard looks great. You might think it always looks good. Numbers on the screen says everything is working, right? But after spending well over $500 million in managed spend, I can tell you that the dashboard is lying to you, okay? I'm consistently seeing the same mistakes across the accounts that I audit. Mistakes that either stop brands from scaling or just quietly bleed their budget every single day. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what those mistakes are, how to fix them, and how to actually scale your Google ad account. If your dashboard is showing you strong numbers like great ROAS or low CPA, which could sometimes even be better than your meta numbers, but every time you try to push more budget in your ad account, you just reach that same fucking ceiling, or you don't see an uplift in your bank account or incrementality. This is what's actually happening. One of the first things that you need to know about Google is that it will pick the path of least resistance if you let it. The 3 words, if you let it, or 4 words, if you let it, is key in that sentence. For most cases, what is that going to be? It's going to be branded traffic. Traffic that is not incremental. It's traffic that would have brought anyways. They might have come from a meta ad, TikTok, fucking email, SMS, whatever. But Google, for some reason, was just was picking up the breadcrumbs, getting the easy conversions, was fucking cherry picking, as we in Australia like to call it. So what ends up happening is your campaign starts scooping up every branded search. It labels them as new cold acquisition customers, reports them as conversions, and the system will continue to learn this way over and over again. If it gets in the habit of doing things in a lazy way, similar to us humans, it'll continue doing it that way unless taught not to. Now, I do want to show you an example where this actually happened within a brand. It's part of an audit that we did for a brand that is spending 30,000 plus a month on Google. And what we actually showed them was in the last 30 days of when we did this audit, 43% of their PMAX conversions were coming from branded terms and 18% of their shopping conversions from branded terms as well. The average CPC for PMAX was $3.78, while some were as high as $14. Now, on average, because it's branded and it's non-incremental, you shouldn't even be paying more than 30 to 40 cents. So they were overpaying by a lot. So here in this situation, the campaign was also labeled prospecting, which in reality, they were just paying 3 to 4 times more per click on their own fucking brand name. So yeah, it's just an absolute clusterfuck because it's just branded, but at the same time, they've labeled it as prospecting. And we see this pattern a lot. It's labeled as prospecting. With these CPCs, it looks like prospecting, but it's not. They're just overpaying on branded shit. But the common truth here is Google will go for the easiest conversions if you let it, as I keep saying. And the easiest conversions being your branded customers, retargeting, warm audiences, traffic that isn't the most incremental to your bottom line as an e-commerce brand. And you can obviously fix this with your account structure. So you exclude your brand terms from every prospecting campaign. You build dedicated campaigns for branded and non-branded. And for these branded campaigns, you should actually be using manual CPC because there's no reason to pay automated bidding premiums for auctions that you are going to win anyway. On the branded campaigns themselves, you're going from $3 to $4 a click down to well under $1. And across the account, that one change typically pulls your blended CPC down 30 to 50% immediately. Everyone should at least be doing this in their ad account. Now, I do want to talk to you guys about something very sneaky that a lot of media buyers outside of Echelonn are doing. Funny thing is, this is something a lot of Google's own reps push. Okay, so if you go to goals, then summary, Google is doing something called customer lifecycle optimization. Long story short, what the goal of this is to either help you grab new customers, high value, or lapsed customers, high value. Now you can quickly open these up to read the descriptions yourself, but either new customers or customers who haven't brought in a while. Now, what you can do here is you can add incremental value for whoever Google thinks is a new customer based off of what the platform can see. Let's say if the value of a purchase is $58.32. If we say that a new customer is actually worth more than that, you can tell Google, add some value on top of their actual conversion. Let's say in this case, they're worth $50 more. That new customer will report the conversion as $108 in platform instead of the actual sales value. The conversion wouldn't be the original value. You can actually see the original value through some columns, but Google will optimize towards that fake value that you obviously gave it. Because we audited a health and wellness brand where Google was adding $100 to $200 onto every new customer sale. And that's just one way your reported numbers get inflated by a fuck ton. Your conversion windows can do exactly the same thing. And this one is far more common. There are arguments where you can set conversion windows beyond 30 days, as you know. Let's say you're a high ticket furniture brand. There's a long consideration window. So sometimes you can have longer attribution windows within your Google ads, but I I just wanted to show you an example where this was kind of crazy, especially when it came to demand gen. Before we get into why this setup was extremely damaging, you have to understand the two things I mentioned here: engaged view conversions and view through conversions. As you can see on this page, long story short, if it's in feed or a shorts ad, the user watches at least 5 seconds of your ads. An engaged view is counted for in feed and short ads when the user has watched 5 seconds. For skippable in-stream ads, it's 10 seconds. For view through conversions, a conversion is triggered as long as the user views the ad and then makes the conversion. So they don't even need to watch the ad. They just need to see the ad. This can be something like a demand gen discover ad. The ad just has to be at least half on the screen for about a second and never click it. They might not even register it. And if they buy later, Google then claims the conversion. Now, let's go back to the audit. So here they had engaged view conversion set at 30 days. So again, keeping in mind, an engaged view is just 5 seconds on a shorts or in-feed ad, or 10 seconds on a skippable in-stream ad. And what they were telling Google was that if a person watches an ad for 5 seconds, if they ever make a purchase within the next 30 days, count it as a conversion. And again, look at their view through conversions. Even just looking at the ad within 2 weeks, they will still count it as a conversion for this demand gen campaign. And this is just artificially inflating the reported results. The point I'm trying to make here, guys, is that these settings can artificially inflate the reported conversions and conversion value within your account if you don't know what these actually do. So you have to be very careful because you're making decisions based on these reports. And obviously, yes, there are right ways to use these settings, but this is not it. And you have to be extremely careful if you're using Google Ads. Otherwise, your dashboard can just be a complete lie. Now, there is something that I constantly hear from brands running large scale campaigns. They see millions of impressions and then they wonder why their conversions are flat. And on the flip side, their agency can be reporting it as a success, but in reality, the spend is going up, but the new customers are just fucking staying flat. And this is what we call a silent bleed. And there's 3 invisible ways that Google can burn your daily budget before an ad has the chance to convert. So I want to show you another page of the audit. Here we can dig into this brand's PMax campaign, their high spending performance max campaign. 8.9 million out of the 12.5 million impressions were coming from mobile apps. And what was happening is this was diluting the campaign quality and their budget was going towards traffic that wasn't likely to convert. So this is the issue of just being unaware of the placements you end up on, especially with PMax. Of the 3 bleeds I'm about to walk you through, placements was by far the worst for this brand. And what they should have done is exclude apps and games at the account level and just force that spend toward real search and shopping inventory. The next silent bleed you might find is location targeting. If your geo targeting is set to presence or interest instead of strictly presence, you are serving ads to people physically outside your target country who just expressed interest to it. A chunk of your budget goes to international traffic that will never fucking buy. What I would do is switch it to presence only. And lastly, for this section, pay attention to your keyword performance. In this account, they nearly spent $40,000 on 0 revenue searches. And sometimes one click was fucking $18, $19. You need to be pulling your search terms report every fucking week. You want to add every high cost, 0 return query to your negative keyword list, especially if the campaign was designed to be bottom of funnel and then you're having informational queries or review site terms or job seeker keywords. For most of the accounts we run, our list is several hundred terms deep. These 3 issues alone can account for 30 to 40% of your daily budget just quietly disappearing. And again, this links back to the point 1 and 2 because this can go largely under the radar if your account looks like it's performing well because it's picking up a lot of branded conversions or you're just inflating your conversions. Okay, so now I want to basically tackle one of the biggest fucking excuses that agencies pull out of their ass when they've basically incorrectly set up an account. When in reality, it's not the algorithm's fault. I'm not talking about spend. You can't, obviously, we all know Google takes a little bit longer to scale spend than Facebook, but this whole bullshit about trust the algorithm and give it more time after a month, 2-3 months of fucking Google Ads testing. It's not the algorithm's fault. It's not broken. Your account is not fucked. It's just not being fed enough data. So let me quickly explain. This almost always happens because an account has been split into more campaigns than the budget can actually support. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, right? Because earlier I told you to split your brand and non-brand into separate campaigns. That split is the one exception and it's always worth it because brand and non-branded are fundamentally different signals and you never want them learning from each other, but every campaign beyond that split has to earn its budget. And what we see in most accounts is that they don't. So Google's own guidance is that you want around 30 conversions in 30 days before target CPA starts working and closer to 50 for target ROAS. And that's roughly right. The part they don't emphasize is what happens when you're sitting just under it, because that's where most accounts actually live. When the conversion data is spread too thin, the algorithm never builds a strong enough picture of who your ideal customer is. So we audited a knee therapy brand. And I'm just going to show you the two different pages here. So for search, this was their non-branded campaign setup, campaigns that were designed to get new customers. 9 out of 13 search campaigns were getting under 1 conversion a day. And the same fucking thing was happening for their performance max campaigns. 24 out of the 30 PMAX campaigns, same fucking story, under 1 conversion a day. And guys, a good rule of thumb, as we mentioned, with the number of conversions you actually need before these automated bidding strategies actually start to work, is you need 1 or 2 conversions a day to be scalable and then to have stable performance. Long story short, too many campaigns split the signal back to Google's algorithm. Learning slows down. And a lot of these campaigns never actually finish learning at all. They just sit there burning fucking budget in a permanent warm-up state. And it gets worse than that. We consistently see brands running the same products across 11, 12, or 13 different fucking PMAX campaigns simultaneously. Just like you see in this order, you are literally bidding against yourself. How the fuck does that make sense? You know, driving your own CPCs higher, splitting your conversion signal across a dozen separate buckets instead of building one clean, powerful campaign that can get out of the learning phase and actually fucking scale. The point here is if you stop Google from learning, or if you don't let it gather enough data because of the structure that you give it, you won't get a winning campaign. That's fucking TLDR, long story short. A winning campaign needs more budget. If it's ripping, keep on fucking spending. You want to consolidate until every campaign that you have is clearing at least 1 or 2 conversions per day. And then you want to limit each product to no more than 2 or 3 campaigns per country. You want your campaigns to leave the learning phase and actually start scaling and giving you real fucking data. Okay, so now I want to give you something that you can actually implement right now, like today within your account. And to be honest, you can start seeing benefits even before the end of this week. And what I'm talking about here is the store quality scorecard that Google gives you in the Google Merchant Center. What most people don't realize is that your store quality directly feeds into your shopping ad rank. Also, it impacts your CPCs. 2 stores with identical bids, maybe identical product feeds, can rank completely fucking different on the shopping results page just because one has a higher store quality. And long story short, this scorecard compares you against other brands that you're competing within your given market. So this will be your niche, your country, etc. But it's divided into a few factors. I made a completely separate video on this if you want to go watch that. But otherwise, you have the shipping experience, which is assessed by your delivery time, your shipping time, return experience, how good your return window, return cost is, if you have any promotions running, or if you have any e-wallets. So like having PayPal, Google Wallet, Apple Pay, Amazon. This is just an example GMC, so I don't have it set up here, but these are easy, low hanging fruit, guys. And then your browsing experience. Do you have high resolution images? Your website speed. Then lastly, your store rating. It all factors in together. Fixing your store quality tab is the absolute quickest win in Google Ads because it requires 0 campaign changes and it is basically hiding in plain sight. Not a lot of people even check the Google Merchant Center. And I kid you not, this is probably one of the highest levers you can pull in terms of ranking better in your Google shopping ads. And it only takes a bit of work that you can actually do right now, today, tomorrow, that can improve where you're ranking within a week. Speaking about improvements, a lot of brands are stuck on the idea that Meta has to be their #1 channel to scale. But over the last 12 months, Google has made massive improvements to demand gen YouTube ads. A supplement brand that we took from $14,000 a week to over $80,000 a week in spend in just 4 months, as you can see here. This is a brand that we grew from $10,000 a week to $63,000 a week in spend in just 30 days. A bedding brand that we grew to $850K of spend in 40 days. So you do not have to rely on Meta to generate cold demand. Google can be a cold acquisition channel if you set it up correctly. Or better, demand gen can be the second Meta for your brand. Unfortunately, most ecom brands are still sort of treating Google like it's a bottom of funnel search engine, that it only captures people who are actively looking to buy. But if there's a point that you guys need to take away from this video, it is that Google Ads is a massive ecosystem built to create demand from scratch. And to get true scale, you have to be using demand gen. It is no longer just an awareness or remarketing platform, okay? This channel is sitting in a rare early mover window right now because Google has finally opened up the platform. It used to be a complete black box. No one knew what the fuck to do. No one knew results. We didn't know how to report, didn't know how to track, but you now have a full manual channel control down to the ad group level. You can explicitly target or exclude YouTube Shorts. You also have access to the brand new shoppable connected TV inventory. Your ads can now show up directly on living room screen and be shoppable. And in several of our accounts, actually, connected TV is already pulling a better cost per acquisition or ROAS than tablet. But you can't just take a Meta ads video and then just fucking dump it here. Every placement is a completely different environment. On YouTube Shorts, average watch times are around 8 seconds. Your hook needs to basically land in 1 single second. And you must keep your key visuals high in the frame to avoid the native caption area too. On YouTube infeed, there is absolutely no audio unless the user actively clicks. So you are relying entirely on thumbnail advertising to basically grab attention. And the absolute biggest mistake is sending this cold dopamine seeking traffic to a standard e-commerce product page. There is an exact campaign structure that you need to use so you can actually isolate these angles and scale them without burning out your creatives. I've got a full demand gen masterclass where I break down that exact structure. It's linked in the description, so feel free to have a watch. When it comes to the scaling strategy, what is the truth behind accounts that actually scale, you might be asking? First, you shift your budget so 60 to 80% is going toward pure prospecting. To do that, you have to stop treating Google like a bottom of funnel search engine and use it as a full funnel ecosystem, from top of funnel research and demand gen awareness all the way down to aggressive bottom of funnel offers. Second, you need to build the stack. You run Performance Max with strict brand exclusions, a standard shopping wall to catch the bleed, search campaigns for active intent, and demand gen to create net new demand. Thirdly, you need to make keywords work everywhere by matching search terms to dedicated landing pages and duplicating products in your feed to fucking dominate the shopping carousel. And fourth, tying back to our first truth, you aggressively need to layer your audiences and ruthlessly exclude your existing customers so you are actually finding new buyers. That is the exact system we use to scale brands. I go way more in depth on how to build this entire stack step by step in a dedicated video, which I've linked in the description as well. I would watch that after this video actually. Now, we do offer free Google Ads audits where we will walk you through your account, find where you are losing new customers and show you the exact opportunities that lie within your account. If that's more profit or more spend, anything that we see within your account or any questions that you might have about your account, we're happy to answer on that call as well. There is a link in the description to grab time with myself or the team. We'll see you in the next one.